Very interesting, actually, that that's something I've heard also when the film was traveling in different countries, that families, and because the film has in the way, in the structure, a lot of authenticity about how the family relationship work, and psychology behind it, sociologically, and as a normal human beings relating to each other. I mean, for me, it's very important that this happened, that this universal aspect of the film, this human aspect, is there, even though the film talks a lot about a situation that is related to Lebanon, the topics that are talked about. But of course, if we want to just adapt names and adapt a bit of the situations, it becomes, as you are saying, universal. It becomes something that might happen in any family anywhere in the world, and gives this insight that Arab families, or any kind of family, is in a way or another related. And this is very important for me to also translate mostly.
You know, what I thought was powerful about watching that was that when you see those familiar structures across cultures, it builds an empathy, you know, for those lives. And I remember there were a couple instances in the movie where Lebanese history was brought up, wars and political strife, and you know, they joked about those things. You know, I think one of the jokes was when he was in the bathroom and he said that the UN will come after us for, you know, chemical weapons and things like that. And it builds an empathy when you can engage with art in that way, and it expands your mind into feeling that.
I think human beings in general, when they are confronted with adversity, especially with war, with very heavy topics, they have different kind of responses. But of course, one of them is humor, because without it, we suffocate. We need humor sometimes to get through with things that are very heavy in terms of and dark, if you want, in our lives. It brightens our days, and in general, in the movie, humor is, even though it's a drama, but humor is there, comedy is there because of the situation. The situation has some dark humor in it, and it gets us to places where we, even as a culture in Lebanon, there's a lot of, even if you go online on Facebook, you see a lot of dark humor, which is interesting to watch sometimes. You know, how come something like this is being talked about this way? But also you understand it because psychologically you cannot, also if a situation is very heavy, there is no other way maybe to talk about it other than using humor.
I mean, that's the life of comedians. Totally. So what influenced the story for Heaven Without People? How did you come up with it? Was it based on your family, or?
The plot of the story is something that happened with a friend of mine in his family, which is they lost a certain amount of money, and they didn't know if it was stolen or lost or whatever happened to it. And of course, when it happened, it was a big amount, very similar to the amount in the movie. So they had to kind of find a way to investigate this internally before going to the police. And he didn't tell me more than that. That was the headline. And from this idea, I developed a totally different story, different characters, different situation. But this is where it started. It was based on a real event. But the actual characters, the situation is totally different because I wasn't there actually when it happened. It wasn't me, but it was the headline. But of course, the conversations and the relationships are based also on people I know. Some people I know, some people I don't know personally, but I've heard about situations like that. But in general, it's based on a lot of things that I've experienced during my life, especially that I've witnessed a lot of family dinners in Lebanon. It could be within my own family, but it's also sometimes as invitations in other families, or weddings or funerals, or any kind of gathering where a lot of people gather, and how they react when there is a family or bigger family gathering in one location, and what happens between the people in these gatherings.
Awesome, awesome. So I have a question because, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, the movie touches on a lot of political unrest and protests and things that have gone on in the history of Lebanon and people there. But the way you introduced those topics was it was an undercurrent to the film. It was just a regular part of the conversation, and it made me think like, oh, I don't know about that, or I want to research more. Was that the reasoning behind putting that kind of activism into the film, or was it just to tell the story? Was it deliberate?
Let's say when I wanted to do the film originally, I wanted to understand Lebanon better. And until now, I don't really understand Lebanon, even after doing the movie. But of course, it's a very complicated country, and socially and politically. And to understand it, I felt I want to go to the first structure, which is the family. It's the first unit of the society and of the country. And from this first unit, to understand it, first you have to think about why people in Lebanon, sometimes in Lebanon or even other parts of the world, but when they have a conversation on a political or social level, sometimes you feel that there is no dialogue happening. It's two monologues.
Yes.
Each one has its own narrative.
Absolutely.
And there is no dialogue happening. There's no debate. It's actually more of useless argument that doesn't go anywhere. Nobody can convince the other. It's because each one has kind of his or her own reality.
Yes.
Different facts. If you don't have the same facts to base yourself upon, you cannot have a really constructive debate.
Right.
In Lebanon, debates also are not happening this way because we don't have a common history book that everybody refers back to. So today, the history from 1943 until today is not available for students. They can maybe watch it online or have it from other sources, but there is no one unified book.
Right.
So which means the most of our understanding of history and who we are comes from the family, from parents. What parents will say about this event, what happened in 1975, what happened in 1980, what happened in 1990, how the war ended, how the war started. All these things, we take them from personal subjective accounts.
Yes.
And what happens if you want to have a conversation afterwards with other people, it's very hard because everyone has his own story.
Right.
Totally different story.
Right.
Sometimes fictional story, subjective story, but where is the objectivity of the research? Historical research is not there. So from this angle, I wanted to explore this more, and from this family understand the sub-layers of conflict and why it's like a kind of a vicious circle where we are going back towards it in Lebanon or even in the Middle East or even in the world, where conflict recurs, violent conflict recurs, because things are not being understood and debated and comprehended in a different manner, which is through speech and dialogue.
Yeah.
This is the only other option. I mean, when words fail, guns take the lead. And that's why from this film, I wanted to understand better how to stop this vicious circle. Of course, for me, it's only questions. And even for the audience, only questions. It's not a matter of finding the answers in the film. The answers should be within us, but the film is there just to give us thought-provoking elements for us to think about the right questions, and afterwards finding the answers would be our own homework,
research.
Our own research. Yeah,
absolutely. So, how has your film been received since it? What do people say that they love about the film?
Well, the film has mostly been very well received, especially that until now it has won like 5 awards in international festivals.
Congratulations.
It has thank you. And it has traveled in like almost 20 festivals until now, internationally. Today it's playing in Washington. It's the Washington premiere of the film. But in general, it has a certain, for me, I would say it's a very successful endeavor that we managed to, within a very limited budget, within very limited resources, to make the best out of it,
Yes.
and really make the film that connects with today's reality, not only in Lebanon, and the whole world, and how we are related to it as a family or as individuals.
Yeah. How does the success of the film make you feel as an artist or as a creative? Is it do you feel like you're defined, or you feel like you've arrived, or do you feel like there's still more work to be
No,
done?
of course. This is my first feature film, but I've done a lot of theater before.
Right.
I've done almost like 15 plays until now. For me, succeeding or failing in artistic endeavor is more of always a motivation. If you succeed, it's a motivation to do more. If you fail, it's a motivation to do better. In general, for me, it's just a matter of the process is something that I love to do. The very process of storytelling.
Yes.
It could be through theater. It could be through books. If you want to
Yes.
write a book, it could be something that I would like to do one day. But also as, of course, doing a film. This story needed this kind of format, which is film, to be told, and that's why I went to do it this way. I think most importantly always is to think about is the continuity.
Yes.
How will I do the second one? How hard will it be? The success of the first one, of course, helps in many ways to find support for the second one, which is something that I'm already planning to do now.
Okay. So, can you tell us anything about the second film, or can you tell us a little bit about what's next?
The story is not like I cannot tell you about it because it's not
Of course.
finalized or defined, but it's gonna be also the same in the broader sense, a socio-political film set up also in Lebanon, but yeah, it's like a 2-year project, usually 3 years. It depends on how things are gonna set up. But I'm hoping that, and I'm very happy that this film, I've learned from this first debut film a lot in terms of how the festival strategy, how to connect with audiences, with distributors. It was a very nice learning experience, which I think helped me and to be more motivated to do the second one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for this lovely interview. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that more people will watch the film and that it could be available in a way or another for distribution here in the US, if it's not theatrical, in other ways for people to be able to watch it.
Absolutely. Well, where before I let you go, where can our audiences find more information about you? Do you have a website or?
Yeah, I have a website. It's I have a personal website, but there's a website for the film, which is easier, which is heavenwithoutpeople.com. It's just
heavenwithoutpeople.com.
Yeah,
simple.
It's just the name of the film. And then they can find more information about the press, what people talked about it, the festivals where it has been to, and even like reviews and IMDb page, which where they can view the trailer of the film and everything related to it. And I hope that, if it's not gonna be, if it doesn't get distribution as release, that it gets at least other kind of platforms. It could be VOD or
streaming online.
Streaming, for them to be able to watch it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Lucien. Thank you for coming and chatting with me today. Thank you for contributing to the Arabian Sights Film Festival.
Thank you.
I wish you much success, brother. Absolutely.
Thank you, and for the invitation also, and for the festival, and for the Fulbright program and Amethyst, who also supported this trip and this screening tonight.
Awesome. Well, we'll chat with them a little later. Yeah. But wonderful. Well,
thank you so much.
Enjoy your night.
You too. Bye.
I guess for me, I noticed like the communication. Like I really saw, it was really eye-opening in terms of like male-female communication, family communication with their families. A lot of times I felt like, there is this line of like, when do I hold my tongue and when do I speak up, especially like in the Lebanese culture. And so that was something that resonated with me. Another thing, what was it? Actually, yeah, that was basically it. Just that tension, it's like really hard to tell, and it's like I feel like they pushed that boundary a lot.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, someone spoke up, oh my god, everything is going crazy right now, everyone's so mad. But like the guy was abusive and he brought a gun in, so like they should have spoken up. But then also like, oh my god, you ruined Easter, poor mom. It's a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Understood. Do you have a favorite part of the movie?
Favorite part of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
I actually did really like. I liked the whole storyline with the maid, the Ethiopian woman who was living with them, because that is like also something I noticed a lot when I visit Lebanon. I treat everyone the same. That's how I was like raised. Like, because I like grew up here,
Right.
so when I'm in like people's homes there, I like talk to them like,
Like it's
thank you,
nothing.
hi, like seriously, like, I'm a nanny, like I'm also like serving people. It's not weird, so I show everyone respect, and I felt that the family actually did a good job of showing respect to her. But outside people, like that other guy, it was just that they portrayed that really well, and. Yeah, so I did I really was happy when I saw like that type of respect that they had. It wasn't the amount of respect that I would think that people would show to like someone servicing them here, but for Lebanon, it was good.
It was big. So I want to talk to you about broadening perspectives through film. So you said that your family is Lebanese. And I know that I took away things from the movie because I'm outside of the culture. With you being Lebanese and actually a part of the culture in ways, did you learn anything new, or did you take away something about the culture that you didn't know?
Yeah, mainly, I guess I saw like a lot of my parents' perspective when they'd be like, Zaina, stop disrespecting us in front of everyone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just the family.
Yeah.
Like, when I would like say something, like when I would want to speak up, and I can kind of understand it's not just about like stating the facts, it's about having respect for everyone around you, and like knowing like what your words, like the rift it might cause, that you might like blow wind in the direction of something that's like about to fall over. So that was a really cool thing to see, and I'm going to be a lot more careful and not be annoying and talk about things that I shouldn't until it's like private.
Absolutely. Well, that's all of our questions for today. Thank you so much, Zaina, for giving us some time.
Thanks.
I'm
this
glad
is
you enjoyed the movie.
fun.
Glad you came out to Arabian Sights Film Festival, and enjoy the
Yeah,
rest of your
thank
evening.
you.
So you've just seen Heaven Without People
Yes.
by Lucien Bourjeily, and how'd you like it?
Well, it's really intense. There's a lot to
Absolutely.
take in. There are a lot of characters. There are a lot of moving pieces. It sort of starts out slow, and then it really builds to a crescendo by the end. And the ending actually gave me goosebumps.
As did I.
Yeah, it's dramatic and kind of unexpected, but
Absolutely.
that's the best part of the movie, I think.
What themes from the film resonated with you?
Boy, I think just family dynamics. I think it really did a good job in pointing out some of the dysfunctionality that we all face in our families at a number of different levels, whether it's between relationships between siblings, relationships between parents, and a lot of the hidden stories
Yes.
that are happening all the time within families underneath the current that you don't necessarily see. And as the movie builds into this crescendo, I think you can really begin to have a better understanding of, the secrets that we keep.
So, Pierce, how'd you like the movie?
I have to say, I really, really enjoyed it on many different levels. I knew nothing about the film coming in, and despite having to read subtitles and not understanding the spoken language, I was really immediately drawn in. And it was as if I had a seat at the table and an intimate peek into this particular family's Easter dinner.
Yeah. What themes from the movie resonated with you?
Geez, they touched on so much. There's a lot about family and religion and politics and culture and identity and, being raised under a certain mindset or being raised to believe the things that your parents taught you, and then reaching a certain age where you're like, hey, wait a minute, I've got my own thoughts and my own belief systems, and they may be a little bit different than yours or what you would like me to have. And I think one of the things that's fascinating about this film is that everyone's had that experience sitting around that dining room table, no matter what culture you're from or where your family is from or where you're eating that dinner at the time, and understanding that family dynamic that takes place. Everyone's got that brother and sister that they used to, play games with, or that one brother-in-law or sister-in-law that really, really annoys you and wish you wouldn't come to dinner.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, it's not often that we see this familial dynamic from Arab communities or other communities like that. What did you learn from the film about communities outside of yours, or essentially, what did you find familiar about it?
Well, what I learned, and one of the key takeaways I have, is that despite this film being, set around a table in Lebanon, that a lot of the issues, a lot of the key points that came up that they were discussing or wrestling with were kind of universal. Like I said, this could be any dinner table in any part of the world. I want to believe where you're going to wrestle with some facet of belief system and trajectory and politics and religion and all those taboo subjects you're not supposed to talk about at the dinner table, yet inevitably show up at the dinner table and then provide those really, really fertile, eye-opening conversations. And in the process, you learn, much like the family in the film, you really learn something about the people that you're related to and the people that are in your very, very close family proximity.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Pierce, for your ideas this evening and your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the film festival. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. All right.